Hi everyone, I hope you're well. So today I wanted to make a video about my style evolution throughout the years, and I figured that this would be a pretty okay time to do that because I feel like my style, even though I feel like I do have a lot of variation, a bit too much in style, from one day to another or within my wardrobe, I feel like I'm at a time in my life where it's pretty stable, it's pretty established. I do feel like one person's style will probably change even throughout the years, even though they've been an adult for a long time or anything like that. So it's not like I think that this specific style that I have right now is gonna be like the one that I have for the rest of my life. But I feel like I have this point where I can kind of document what's been going on in my style until this point. So first I want to start off with a couple of pictures from my childhood that don't really have much to do with my, I guess, style individually or identity, because you don't exactly have that much of a sense of identity when you're a child. And I like these kind of princessy things. I really liked fairies and stuff like that, mermaids, princesses, things like that. I do still like stuff like that, especially fairies. I think that's kind of cute. But you can't exactly be dressing like a fairy every day of your life and going out with wings and stuff. But I would say that my sort of delving into my specific style, fashion sense and stuff like that started developing more around 2008. So by 2010, as I have mentioned before, I was already listening to metal, but in terms of fashion and style, specifically like the way of dressing, I was more into the scene look, not necessarily the most extreme like emo scene look with like the really layered hair, but I liked styles that were kind of inspired in that sort of late 2000s kind of thing, the bright streaks of hair on the black hair, straight black hair, the black backgrounds with the pink and the red and the bright colors like that. Just black clothes in general, stuff like that. My main fashion icon at the time, I would probably say, is Sky Sweetnam, in the sort of Sound Solier era, which is around 2000, came out in 2006, I think. It's sort of this call to scene look, but a bit more, not exactly as recognizable as scene. It's kind of cute and feminine, but also like edgy. It wants to be kind of punk, and I guess that looking back it could be seen as juvenile, but it's a very fun style. So by 2008 and 2010, I feel like my style, my fashion wasn't really that affected by what I was listening to and what I was like inspired by, because I feel like that was almost more of a fantasy at that time. I wasn't really expecting my parents to like buy me a whole new wardrobe and to let me just dress however I wanted and dye my hair, whatever. Like I kind of knew that wasn't gonna happen at that age, so I never even like brought it up much unless it was very passively. I do have a picture of myself from 2010 with darker clothes, and I was probably wearing dark jeans as well. I don't really know, but yeah, I was definitely not doing much with my makeup or anything that was very recognizable or extreme, even though I did want to. I remember in 2008 again, from 2008 onwards, I kind of did want to, but I kind of knew that I kind of had this frustration going on, like I knew that I was too young to wear makeup and too young to dress too extreme, but I had like this really strong desire to do it anyway. I don't know, it's interesting how as a child you feel this rush, you have to like dress this way now, you have to start now to do whatever, and it's like, yeah, like I do feel like children, looking back, I do feel like teenagers or preteens should be able to like experiment with stuff like that, especially because it's not permanent. I mean, yeah, like hair dye damages your hair, but it grows back. So in 2011 and 2012, I was starting to get into goth music, and also starting to learn a lot about the subculture itself, mostly through the internet, of course, because at the age that I was, which is like 13, how old was I? 2011, I was 13. Yeah, at that age, I was starting to get into goth stuff. I was starting to learn about the subculture because I wasn't about to like go out into goth clubs or whatever. And interestingly, for all I knew back then, actually there was no goth clubs in my city at all. I remember Googling a few times to see if there were any at all, even if I wasn't about to go at my age, but I wasn't able to really find any at the time from what I remember. And so I had this idea that like there were basically no goths in my city at all. which I started to only notice that there actually were until I started to actually go out, especially downtown, in places where the more alternative people hang out in the city. But until then, I feel like I did have like this really, this sort of era or phase, I guess, where I was really concerned about learning as much as I could about the goth subculture, because I didn't want to be called a poser and all these things. Kind of the same thing that had happened before with metal. Like I was, constantly trying to see what bands were the good poser, the bad poser bands, or the good, more true bands, in order to like make sure that I wouldn't be considered a poser by the time that I, were to actually start to be part of the community or whatever. It's very interesting how you think when you're like 11 to 13, you think that these things are very serious and very important. And of course, when you're that age, I guess that they are, because you're starting to socially become someone, you're starting to find or try to fit into communities. And I guess that can happen not necessarily at that age, but sometimes a bit later, sometimes a bit earlier, I guess. But I feel like I was very early into I was at a very early age for wanting to be part of something like that. Now that I look back, it's very strange how I felt like I had to be a part of that community like as soon as possible, of either of those communities, like goth, metalheads, because I listen to the music and all that. But I feel like I had to go through this test to like prove myself or something like that. And interestingly, my fashion, I feel like my fashion style wasn't really too affected or influenced by the metal thing. I didn't really have that many band shirts. I do have a picture of me from 2011, so 10 years ago, where I was wearing this same shirt, and I was like, 10 years, I was like 13. This really like awkward stage of my hair, awkward stage of my makeup, very everything like very 13-year-old kind of thing, very unfinished and kind of badly made and all that. So in this time from 2011 to 2012, I was really into like inspired by goth stuff. Not so much the trad goth stuff that I feel is very interesting right now, but I was definitely more inspired and more wanting to explore the Victorian goth type of stuff, like the corsets and the long skirts or the long dresses, very sort of period style dresses in black and stuff like that. That was kind of like my goal, that kind of style was really what I wanted the most. Although again, it was more of a fantasy self thing rather than a realistic thing. Like I wasn't about to go to my parents and ask them to buy me like this $150 dress to wear who knows where, I was definitely not, who knows where I was even trying to wear that to. I mean, I was going to school, and in my middle school we didn't actually wear uniforms, but like it still would have been kind of like I would have been made fun of relentlessly for wearing a dress to school. So yeah, it was probably like it would have been kind of pointless to buy me a dress even at that point, because I wasn't gonna go out to anywhere with like it really warranted any sort of formal wear or any special type of wear, Okay, so I actually forgot to include them in the video, but these are some of the pictures of that time from 2011. This one, as you can see, I'm wearing a black hoodie that I actually owned for a very long time, and I'm wearing the whole sort of like black with some red kind of thing. It was kind of tomboyish at this time. I was kind of tomboyish, or I was trying to be anyway. And sometimes I did wear there's this other picture actually where I am wearing a purple dress, and I'm even wearing this inverted pentagram necklace with it, just to add some edginess to it. From 2012, I also have these couple of pictures of me. Most of them I'm not really wearing makeup, but one of them I'm dressed like a pirate. Very funny. I don't know why I was into pirates at the time. I still have that scarf with the schools, I think, but I don't have that like denim vest anymore. In this other picture, I'm wearing my hair like curled, and I'm wearing a little bit of like makeup, I think, like liner smudge here, which looks okay, I guess, but nothing great. And this other picture is really baffling to me because I'm wearing like 5 necklaces on top of each other in this picture for some reason. I don't know why I thought that was a look. Apparently, I thought it was a look. And I have nice hair in that picture because it had grown out a little bit, and we were in this trip with other girls from the school, and we were so jet lagged that we woke up really, really early, and we started to curl each other's hair. So yeah, and then we started to, it's funny because we had woken up so early that we started to get really sleepy at like 4 p.m. or something, and we were really, really drowsy by that hour, but we were supposed to still have activities at that point, so so I think it was late 2012 or in early 2013 when I started to learn about the lolita fashion style, and I really fell in love with it. Pretty much all the styles, all the sub-styles of the fashion, mostly sweet lolita, I feel, which is kind of paradoxical because it's obviously very cute and feminine and all that, in contrast to the kind of like tomboyish style that I had been trying to get to like limit myself to, I guess, in the previous years from 2013. I had this kind of like wish list of like sweet lolita items, mostly from Angelic Pretty, that they were like my dream dresses, as they call them, dream dresses. And I still have a list going on. I probably will show you the images here on the screen of the dresses that were my dream dresses. And I have like a bunch of cords already planned out for those dresses. I had blouses that I had on my wish list, socks, shoes, like I had an entire wardrobe already planned out in my head of things that were, or probably mostly just not just very expensive, but also like probably not even accessible or attainable anymore, because all of the times these dresses they're pretty much all limited edition, and you might be able to get them secondhand, but they're really rare, and that often makes them even more expensive or just as expensive as retail price. And in 2013 I also went to my first ever Lolita meetup, and I will have some pictures on the screen of my first core that I wore there, and looking back, I feel that it's a pretty good cord for a beginner anyway. I mean, there's some things that could have been better, especially I feel like maybe a blouse that was a bit more elaborate, something different on the head. The shoes would have been better off red or maybe brown or something, maybe printed in some way, tights or OTKs instead of the solid red ones. But I feel like it was pretty okay, pretty okay. And it needed more accessories, I think, but whatever. I think it was a pretty good cord. The thing, I feel like I didn't really make that many friends from that meetup. I think it's mainly because most women in that meetup were pretty, like, they were definitely adults. They were kind of in their late 20s or early 30s, and I was 15, so yeah, there wasn't a lot for us to have in common. But I'm glad I went, and I do like that cord. I feel like it's cute. I actually sold the skirt a while ago, but I still have that blouse, the tights, the shoes, pretty much everything else I still have. So yeah, and also I should have had a different hairstyle. I didn't do anything to my hair at all, and it didn't look good at all, especially with how frizzy and dry it was at the time. Yeah, but you learn from mistakes. From 2013 I also have this image of me wearing this like doll type makeup, which I think I didn't wear for the meetup, that type of makeup, I'm pretty sure, and I hope, because it was kind of trendy, I guess, in the sort of, it reminds me of like what the alternative but like kawaii kind of subcultures or styles were doing at the time, around this era, where they were having this like white shadow or white liner under the eyelids to make the eyes look bigger, right? And I did try it here, and it looked a bit ridiculous, to be honest, but that's partly because my skills weren't that great. I feel like there were people back then who did pull it off, even if it does kind of look weird from very close, but it was a look. So 2014, I was starting to, I had heard of Anastasia Shpagina, which is sort of, she was sort of my main style inspiration this year. I would say that year, 2014. She has this really, really long red hair, mostly extensions, I think, but it's also partly her own hair that's dyed this very, very bright red. She has this really like cute style that I was so much wanting to imitate in that time. And I had heard of Morike at this point, And I was almost feeling like maybe I could replace Lolita with Mori-Kay, because I also felt this frustration stylistically with Lolita, because I knew that a full wardrobe at the time was kind of unattainable, so I felt like Mori-Kay was like slightly more accessible or something. But I quickly kind of grew out of it, because I'm not that much into like earthy colors and stuff like that, and the look of Mori-Kay is a bit more like loose. It's a bit more like not very flattering, I would say, for me anyway. So I quickly kind of lost interest, but it was kind of really, I was really into it for a little while. Also, another thing that is kind of a strange inspiration to mention, but I feel like it was pretty relevant or pretty, significant to me, was that scene or that time in the anime Kill la Kill, it came out around the time, around 2014, where Satsuki, one of the main antagonists, she's seen wearing this really long, or rather like a midi skirt to the knees or a little bit below the knees, and it's sort of a pleated skirt, right? A black pleated skirt, but it's fairly long. And I remember kind of like really being into that idea or that look, because most of the anime is them almost all of the characters are like half naked most of the time, or like a lot of the time. So it was kind of like almost extreme and strange to me, and how she was suddenly like shown with this really long skirt. And I was like, you know what, I really like that sort of severe look of like the long skirt, especially a dark colored long skirt. And I started to get into this idea of like dark clothes that were like really covering, almost like giving you a bit of a nun look. And I actually still am into that look to this day. Another thing that happened in 2014 is that I actually cut and dyed my hair red. So I remember in high school we weren't actually allowed, technically we weren't allowed to dye our hair any unnatural color, but when I dyed it red, nobody really told me anything. I mean, red is technically a natural color, so I guess that's how I managed to, pull it off. But, it was definitely short, sort of like, I'll insert images on the screen. And I let it fade and grow and fade more. And I eventually got a little bit of henna on it, and I liked the result. It was a little bit more vibrant. And also around this time, by the way, I was wearing glasses and I was wearing braces, so I was kind of doing anything I could to like improve my appearance, because I feel like my face was so overshadowed by those things that I just couldn't really find a way to like break out of it. And here's me with other outfits, obviously not for school, because in these outfits I'm not wearing my uniform. And you can see in this one I'm wearing a longer skirt that I don't have anymore. I have these images from 2015. The only image that I have from 2015 is this one, and I'll show it to you. Now this looks like really heavy makeup, right? I feel like this looks really heavy, but let me explain something. Again, at the time I was wearing glasses. They were these really thick rimmed glasses that I will have shown in another image probably. And I feel especially because I'm nearsighted, those glasses tend to make your eyes look smaller, and like everything that's behind the glasses just kind of gets lost, it's almost like it's not there. Everything is just, it's not emphasized, And so I feel like that kind of justified to myself that I was wearing really heavy makeup on my eyes. And occasionally I also wore lipstick, especially red. This was actually Wet n Wild Cherry Bomb on this image. So yeah, it does look very heavy on this picture, but in my defense, it was definitely not nearly as heavy when you actually looked at me, in person, I think. So I have these images from 2016. I only have a few because by this time my phone was starting to, the back camera was starting to fail, and then the front camera failed too. So there was a time when I couldn't take any pictures at all, and it lasted for like a year or so until my phone got replaced. But the point is, I only had a few pictures here and there. One of them was this one, very normal, just wearing I was at school or such. This one is from 2016, again 2016. This was in Halloween because I was dressed as Dana Scully from The X-Files, which I was really into at the time. And in this picture you can see it, but later after I took this picture, I think I had a like badge here that said like FBI, Dana Scully and all that. But unfortunately I forgot to put it on for the picture. Also, and maybe most notably, I had shaved my head in 2016. Okay, so I just realized that I never actually explained why I had shaved my hair. I just now realized. So it was mainly a combination of my hair. Well, it was already kind of shorter. It was kind of a bit past shoulder length, maybe. It was kind of damaged, and the roots were kind of yellowy, but I couldn't dye over them. Not the roots, the ends. Most of the length of the hair was damaged, but I couldn't. And it was yellowy because the dye had faded, but I couldn't dye with red dye over it, with with proper hair dye over it, because I had used henna over it already, and you can't use like regular hair dye over henna. And I could have used henna over it, but honestly I didn't want to at all, and I was also kind of curious as to what I look like with a shaved head. So that's mainly it, among other things. I don't have, again, because of the same phone thing, I don't have any images that I myself took with a shaved head or with a buzz cut or anything, but I have this picture of my ID. It was in my ID, and you can see me with a buzz cut there. And then I have this other picture of myself with a wig that I had gotten. It's a sort of pastel pink wig that I still own, actually. And I think I look very cute in that one. I was really starting to get into this, really go back into that sort of like cute fashion style, that sort of like really pastel-y, cute type of thing. Mostly because I felt like I couldn't really pull off I was kind of really going through this insecurity phase, and I feel like I couldn't really pull off the more harder types of fashion. I guess this would count as that, because I wasn't really very confident enough to pull off something like this, I guess, which isn't even that extreme, but I had my ideas. In 2017, there's this picture of me going to the Maiden concert. Also, check out this really awkward outfit with the shorts coming out of the skirt behind, and the weird flats with the shorts, socks, and the weird expression that I'm making in that photo as well. I went with a friend of mine, but I cropped him out of the picture to protect the identity of the innocent. From the Book of Souls tour. And my hair had grown a little bit. It was like a pixie cut type of, a bit longer, I guess, than a pixie cut, I'm not sure. But it wasn't really a short cut for me, for a woman, I guess. And then there's this other one where I have a slightly, I'm not sure if this is from the same time or maybe a bit later, I don't know, but I had dyed my hair red again. And this time I was kind of like getting back into the metalhead sort of like style, and I was also simultaneously getting more into metal rather than goth music again. I kind of alternate between those two styles, and those are the main styles that I have, and those are the two main types of music that I listen to. So, on any given day, I just kind of do whatever, I guess. And I also got another wig, which is more of a light brown, very straight wig. And one of them I'm wearing like a long white dress, because I still was kind of into the vintage thing. I was kind of like trying to see how I could mix my styles together and all that kind of thing. And in this other picture, you'll see how, in the next pictures, you'll see how I was doing this thing where my bangs, or rather the front pieces, I kind of rolled them in on the front to make them into bangs, but they were a roll, sort of like, I guess, a retro style kind of thing. And I usually wore it with a ribbon right below it, behind it, and tied it with a bow like here on the side or behind it or whatever. I would wear that not necessarily with vintage stuff, but with like my band shirts or whatever I had, that I felt it looked good with, because I wanted to be kind of like feminine, but also like, have my interests kind of like showing on my clothes or whatever. I think that from 2018 onwards, I've had pretty much the same style that I have right now, like there's some, I have band shirts, of course, which I guess is kind of metal style, if you will. I have some goth band shirts as well. I think something else that's significant from this time, this year, is also that I figured that I was relying a little bit too much on eyeliner, especially the very kind of dramatic or just overall winged eyeliner. And I was sometimes trying to kind of get away from it. In this image you can see that I'm not wearing eyeliner, I'm just wearing kind of a little bit of red eyeshadow, which is actually red lipstick, the same one that I'm wearing on my lips, which is Disturbed by Urban Decay. And you can tell that I was kind of trying to go a little bit lighter on the eyes, because I mentioned this before, but I've always felt that my eyes are what kind of stands out the least when I'm not wearing makeup. So I often just try to kind of emphasize the eyes the most as opposed to everything else. But in this image, it's kind of like I was trying to, do the opposite in order to just kind of accept the way that my eyes are, I guess. But as you can probably tell, I have gone back to wearing liner, maybe not as dramatically as before. And also sometimes my eyeliner is a little bit, the wing is a little bit downwards or more straight, rather than before, which was more winged upwards. And it's actually because of my hooded eyes as well, because it's more difficult to do upwards wings, which is basically just regular winged liner on my eyelids, so it always ends up looking a bit overly dramatic or kind of crooked or something like that. I have this picture as well from Day of the Dead of 2018, where I'm wearing this long black dress, well, not that long, but like midi skirt, with a midi skirt black dress that I have here as well, and I still have it, and I've been wearing it for a long time. You have seen me wear it on this channel several times, I'm sure. And I'm wearing it with like a veil and this like black rose headband, and I thought that it looked really cute. I still like that outfit actually. I feel like maybe I should have worn a more full-length dress, because that one looked a bit too casual and sort of summery, but at the same time it was really hot that day. I mean, it was early November and it was still pretty hot here. Also, this other picture from 2018, this one I had just gotten my ears pierced, my earlobes pierced, and yeah, that's the very same day where I took the picture. And I still have obviously my earrings. I still have earrings on, obviously, and I'm very glad I got them pierced, because I have so many more options for accessories now than I used to. And I have this other picture where I'm wearing this nun outfit or nun look, and very cute. I mean, I don't like the fact that my roots are showing, because the rest of my hair was reddish still at the time, but I do like that outfit. I like that look a lot. This other picture I'm wearing sort of space buns there, and this other picture I like a lot. I think I look that good in that, really good in that outfit. I feel I don't know, very like cute, but also like kind of calling out to the goth look alone, wearing a Black Sabbath shirt in that one. But I feel like the red velvet kind of references maybe some sort of like goth style. These are from 2019. 2019 I have this again with the same shirt. I'm wearing that one in this picture, and then I have another one with, I think, just like freshly re-dyed or retouched red hair and a new lipstick that I had just gotten. And then this other picture that I took where I'm wearing this my off-shoulder white shirt and the vintage what do you call it, like strap. And then I have this other one that I really like this outfit actually, the long black pleated skirt with a band shirt. I think it was Susie and the Banshees, and then a cardigan with it. It was kind of a colder day. And I also have this one. This other picture is my second time wearing Lolita, so this was my second cord. And the dress I actually got from a vintage store. I remember looking at it and going, you know what, this has the same cut of a Lolita dress. It needed a blouse, but that blouse that I'm wearing there, that was not part of the dress. So I feel like I had a pretty good core there. By this point I feel like I had kind of given up on the idea of being a Lolita. I mean, I liked it and I loved the idea, but I was like, you know what, I'm not sure that I can really do it. Not just because of the effort and the money and the time that it takes, but also like I'm not sure if I can really have that much space for like 3 wardrobes, or like having 3 styles at once basically, because I don't know, I feel like the vintage style and the sort of like alternative goth style were already like 2 styles trying to combine them, and sometimes they do overlap a little bit. Like if you have a sort of Victorian goth outfit, then it kind of overlaps a little bit with the vintage stuff. Like some items can overlap, right? But I feel like a 3rd style was like a lot, in that time I was like, you know what, I'm not sure that I can manage that. But since I found that dress at the vintage store, I just decided that I would wear it as an actual Lolita dress with a petticoat under it and everything. And I went to this meetup and it was very nice. There were a couple, it was a very small meetup actually, and those girls that were there were actually much closer to my age, and we had a pretty good time, and I'm very glad I went there. Next pictures are from 2020. These, there's not a lot to explain, I guess, because I feel like these are kind of like my style that I have now, and there's not a lot to really say. I had some bangs on and off, and I also recently stopped dyeing my hair red, which is mostly because I don't want to keep having to like re-dye the roots and all that, but I'm not giving up on hair dye forever, because I do feel like the brown hair sometimes feels a bit boring, especially because I don't know, I feel like my hair doesn't give much contrast to my clothes, because it's kind of a dark color, so the clothes are also dark, and it's like, I feel like there should be more contrast between one thing and the other ideally. But I do miss the red hair sometimes, but at the same time I do like the length of hair that I have now, and I know that if I were to bleach it, I'm gonna have to cut some of it off because of the damage that it's going to have. So yeah, as you can see, by this point I had bought many more band shirts. I had a lot of more variety of band shirts to choose from. I have a video of my collection of band shirts in case you want to see it. So yeah, and I had a couple of more vintage dresses to choose from. The white one that you have, I've worn in this channel before, and the sort of like dirndl that I've worn on some Halloween days the past few years, because I haven't done anything too exciting for Halloween in the past years, so I could just kind of gone out for coffee with a costume, which is this dirndl in this case, and it looks very cute, I think. So there's these last few pictures that you can see that these are from 2020 or 2021, so very recent ones. As you can see, that's pretty close to the style that I have going on now. I would say the main difference in the last couple years is that I'm wearing more eyeshadow than I used to. Before it was really just neutrals or black, just kind of like a little bit, and I'm definitely wearing more color on my eyelids more often, especially red. I didn't know how I would feel about red eyeshadow until I bought that palette, the Muerte palette by Melt Cosmetics, and I ended up really loving it. Red is probably my go-to, not necessarily my go-to, my most commonly worn eyeshadow color, but I kind of do like it more than any other color for eyeshadow. So yeah, this was a pretty interesting thing to look back at. I had some kind of interesting stylistic choices here and there, but I guess it's all part of learning, right? I hope you enjoyed this video on my styles, and I'll see you in the next one.